Good morning, die-harders. Who's ready to live for your die-hard? Right here on the S&W Experience podcast. I am the Shogun. And here we...
But having said that, it's not to say that Zack fully understands these characters, a la Martha. He has a decent enough understanding to make a coherent movie. Not a great movie, but a movie that's good enough. But the movie is only made worse when it has meddling in it. It's only made worse if it has meddling in it. Like, okay, MOS had no meddling. That was Zack Snyder's first shot, right? They wanted $1 billion. That was his first shot. Full control. The movie wasn't perfect, Pa Kent choosing to die, as opposed to his son revealing his identity, of which he wouldn't, because Clark is literally super fast. No one would see him. It would be like a streak. It would be a streak of random white clothing, because he's wearing like a white t-shirt, blue jeans, whatever it was, flannel. They wouldn't see him. It would just be a little streak, a little streak mark, like when someone runs past. They wouldn't see him. But Pa Kent dies in an idiotic way. You literally could have kept the heart attack in a tornado, and you can't save him. Get the fuck out of here.
The thing is, the heart attack works way better because it shows that, hey, there are some, like, you can't save everybody. It doesn't matter how strong you are, how powerful you are. You can't save everybody, and sometimes people just die.
Yeah. He has super speed. Like, it didn't need to happen. It did not need to happen that way. So again, MOS is a Zack Snyder film through and through. It's his vision, and through him being able to express his vision, it's a decent movie. But simply because it didn't crack $1 billion, they snap at him. And I don't respect that. Because Marvel doesn't have too many billion-dollar movies. They don't. Do they interfere in the middle? Does Feige interfere in the middle? No. If anything, he's too lax. Okay? If anything, Feige is too lax. So just because a director fails to make $1 billion movie doesn't mean you must put your dirty fingers in and start fucking shit up. It doesn't mean that. So what you have with WB, you have these capitalistic old white men who just want to see green. They want to see $1 billion in their profit margins. They want only B's, not M's. Fuck M's. They want B's. And just because they don't get B's, their capitalistic brains say, fine, I'll do it myself. And they can't do it themselves because they're old white men. What can they do? They pull a Thanos a la Age of Ultron and they fuck it up even worse. So that's their fault. That's why I literally do not feel sorry for them. Because they've always been stupid. They're run by it's a fucking circus. It's like just the monkeys on that executive chair. Old white monkeys. They don't know what they're doing.
It's that line about what, you got a team of monkeys working around the clock on this? Like, that's literally what it is. Just
brutal stuff. Yeah, I don't know how Aquaman's gonna be. I don't know how Shazam will be. Flash, Batgirl is cancelled. And not just cancelled. No. That means the movie was out, but it was never started. That's cancelled. No. It was deleted. Keyword deleted. Imagine that. Where in your life have you ever heard of a studio deleting every second of a movie? When that same studio, 40 years ago, shelved a movie that would come out 30 years later in 2003, The Dawn of Superman 2. Where in your life have you ever heard of a deletion of every second? You got monkeys there. You got monkeys. Straight up monkeys. Monkeys who I guarantee you were not around in 1981. They were not around.
Man, if they were, dude, where would we be? Shit.
feel like these are the same monkeys that came during the Schumacher era. Definitely.
They just saw Tim Burton's Batman Returns and like, nah, that was too dark. We need to bring it back down to a lighter tone, and just
They would have been like in their infancy of monkeyhood, in like their late 40s or early 50s back then, but still monkeys. A monkey is a monkey is a monkey is a monkey. So even though they were young monkeys, they were still monkeys back then.
Yeah.
Batman Forever? Jesus Christ.
Hey, hold up. That movie wasn't that bad. That was Batman and Robin that was with Freeze and them. Shit.
Yeah. It's the clean one. You see, I don't even know the movies enough. I don't even know them well enough to get the names right. That's how bad it is. I'm literally speaking about the clean one. But yeah, 100% monkeys. I love it.
It's not only that, but monkeys. Dude, even if it wasn't a campy tone, look at that story.
Yeah.
That story doesn't make sense. Like, why is Poison Ivy teaming up with Freeze? Aren't those two very, like, opposite of each other? Like, Ivy wants to grow plant life, and Freeze wants to freeze everything. Like, they're gonna clash at some point. Dude.
Adding Talia al Ghul with a Mexican. These are the same monkeys. So you've got to imagine they don't know what the fuck they're doing when it comes to parenting. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know. Just useless monkeys. Absolutely good for nothing.
Lord knows, man. Just, it's hard to be a comic fan sometimes.
Dude, okay, Green Lantern. Let's even go back there, because we don't speak a lot about how they fucked up Green Lantern. Because that one had heavy meddling.
That was the surprise.
As much as Taika is a bad director as a flaw, a lot of Green Lantern wasn't his fault. It wasn't.
Yeah.
They wanted a big bad, but they didn't want to pay for the budget, so they made him a cloud, just like Fantastic Four as the Rise of the Silver Surfer. And they make him a cloud, and they put a dumb B-plot romance plot in there. No, that's not Taika. That's Warner Brothers.
No, it's ironic.
Taika,
he's in that movie.
Yeah. He's in the movie. He's acting in the movie. Why would he make a bad movie if he's acting in the movie? You know? Anything that should compel you to make a good movie. But no, WB had to stick their grimy fingers and just make Parallax a cloud and just weird changes. Just jarring. Just jarring.
But that movie could have had its moments. Like when dude was on Oa and he was learning how to do constructs. That was a good scene. I'll give it that. Yeah. That was a good scene. It's everything else that was like, eesh, dude. Because my big problem is that the Green Lantern are space cops and this movie is mostly on Earth. You have a space cop and you put him mostly on Earth? Just, dude. Ugh, Jesus, man.
Oh, man.
Also, that is a gross misunderstanding of what makes Hal Jordan. I think literally all they heard was, Hal Jordan is fearless. Okay, that means like, he's not afraid of anything. No! That's not what that means. That doesn't mean like, oh, he's just not afraid just cause. That means, dude, like Hal Jordan would be in a perilous situation and he would acknowledge, yeah, this is fucked up. This is serious, but he charges through anyway. It doesn't mean he's not afraid of anything. Just, dude.
Just bad. And you ask yourself, when will this change?
When they stop making money. When these movies stop making money, they're gonna take a long, hard look in the mirror and they're gonna say, we need to change. That's when it'll properly go into full swing. I mean, we can yell and scream on Twitter all we want, but they can ignore that. What they can't ignore is when the movies start bombing.
Exactly. they simply need to pull a generations. They need to pull generations. They need to pull just clean house sweep. Just remove everyone. Pull a Zuma and just shuffle everything. Shuffle the cabinet. Axoshe bonke, bayabheda, bonke gone. Basuse.
They kind of did that. Kind of. I mean, when they fired the old guy and they brought in Hamada. But that was just one guy.
Yeah, it's only Walter. Walter is a very small speck in a giant heap of just steaming donkey shit. He's a small speck in that.
I remember there was this like new female exec. She wasn't the top because that was Kamado when he came in. There was this new female exec, and there was this like press release she did where she's like, we're gonna change we're gonna change things around here. We're gonna like shut down the boys club nature of Warner Brothers. And let's be honest, dude. Since then, what has changed? Since that press release came out, what has changed? Like
it's been changed. 6 years? That's so.
Dude, that was 6 years ago, and fuck all has changed, man.
I. It's just so bewildering. And like, you would think that a studio who has, apparently had their ducks in a row since 1978. 40 years ago. They've had ducks in a row for 40 years, and they still can't get it right. Sure, those 40 years have but they started off knowing what they were doing. And that's the problem. They began knowing. But then these monkeys just fucked everything up.
Yeah. It was... Because if you remember in the beginning, like, look at that first Batman. That first Batman was not a kid's movie. You could not look at those first two movies and be like, oh, I'll take my kid to see this. Nah. This was a street-level hero beating up bad guys trying to kill him. Just...
Yeah. Like what we have is a rare moment. I don't know if it was a moment of like lucidity of something. But in that rare moment, they gave Nolan creative control after meddling for the past 9 years. They gave him control. We're like, okay, you know what, listen. Things haven't always gone, the right way for us. So let's take a chance on you. Just a chance. Just a chance. Batman Begins. Just a small... And it's the fact that movie was... That movie out MCU. 2005, dog. We were in Hillgrove when the movie came out. We were in Hillgrove. And it made... Funny enough, and this is how you know that the monkeys changed at that point. The movie only made $373 million. Even back then, that was not a lot of money. Because Titanic had made like nearly $1 billion. Not $1 billion, but nearly $1 billion. And then eventually they made $1 billion through DVD sales. But Titanic made more than Batman when it first came out in '99. But the monkeys didn't care. Why? Because there were no monkeys back then. Or rather, we were in a very rare moment, a very rare transitory moment where the monkeys accepted the $300 million box office. I don't know how they accepted it, but they did. And through that trust, you see, when you give trust to a director, when you trust them, even throughout, he will deliver. The first movie you made, it didn't even make 400 mil, the first movie. But what does the second movie make? 1 billion. And that's what happens when you trust your director. That is what happens. You don't meddle. You trust them. You trust them with all you've got. Because you hired them off. Who else is going to trust them? You have to trust them. You hired them. Who else is going to trust them? Not the fucking secretary. Not the coffee guy. You hired them. Trust them. That's exactly what happens when you trust a director to deliver.
A director who can deliver. Shit. Nolan was proven back then. He could do action.
Dude, Iron Man 1 made more than Batman Begins. And Warner Brothers still let Nolan make The Dark Knight. And, without any meddling. Iron Man 1 made more than The Dark Knight. I mean, than Batman Begins. And and the reason why it made more is because of two things. At that point, people were still reeling from Batman shock, and they didn't trust Batman Begins. They thought it'd be shit. So not many people went to the studios to watch it, because barely 6 years prior, they made one of the worst Batman movies of all time. Barely 6 years. 6 years for us is 2016 to now. 6 years isn't a long time. I mean, it is a long time. But when you compare it to then, you have to look at this movie in the context of the early 2000s. Batman and Robin was 97. That means that Batman Begins was only 7 years removed from a very bad movie. That's like, dude, that's 2016 for us. It's 2016. It was so recent, and no wonder people didn't go. Because if we had gotten a very terrible movie in 2016, would you watch a better movie, or a supposed better movie in 2022?
It would be fresh in my mind, man. The Batman would still be fresh in my mind.
Yeah. So no one saw Batman Begins, and that's why it kind of badly. 300 mil? Come on. Movies like Endgame spend that much on budget alone, But people were still reeling from the B&R shock, and they were like, "I'm not gonna watch this movie," so they didn't go to theaters. Then, when the reviews come out and then whatnot, they go, "Oh, so it was a good movie. My bad," and then they buy DVD sales. So if you include DVD sales, right, in back end, at like 800 mil, 800 in the back end of things. Plus DVDs, and because back then, I was like DVD Central. So through VHS, through DVD, through Blu-ray, they made more than they did in the box office. But that's only because people had in the reviews afterwards that it wasn't a bad movie, and you should see it. And then through that goodwill, The Dark Knight managed to get a staggering $1 billion in 2008 for a superhero movie. In 2008, that's crazy. Because back then, the biggest superhero movie was Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 made like $800 million. And back then, and even now, that was a very, very, very big box office. And then you had The Dark Knight, boom, $1 billion. Why? Because if you put your trust in the director, he will deliver. And when he delivers, he will deliver in the best way possible. And then somehow, the monkeys stuck their finger in TDKR. I don't know why. But they just felt like adding Bane and Talia together, even though they have nothing in common. Bane is a villain from Mexico, right?
He's like a luchador,
from the Porto El Juarez, something. And Talia is Red's daughter. So are they teaming up? Fortunately, that wasn't bad enough to ruin the movie. Fortunately, by our luck, was not bad enough to ruin the whole movie. So, at the end of the day, even TDKR made over $1 billion. They made 1.1, somewhere on that ballpark. This is 2012, Avengers era. And at that point, Marvel had built well enough goodwill to even justify making, like, the only reason why why Avengers made $1 billion. Not because it's an ensemble piece with Hulk, Black Widow, Cap, Thor, Hawkeye. No, it wasn't because of that. It's because Marvel had cumulative goodwill of like 5 prime, and the fans knew exactly what they're in for, and they were excited and they were stoked. So the goodwill of Marvel, even though they had not made a single $1 billion movie at that point, they still said, okay, you know what, John, do your thing, it's fine. Do your thing. We'll see what happens. And $1.2 billion. $200 million more than TDKR. They made like nearly 1.3. They made like 1286, you know. And then TDKR made 1081 billion. So they made like 200 mil over TDKR. And that's what happens when you put your trust in the director, even though your movies don't make $1 billion. So, yeah,
Yep.
DC lost the plot somewhere around 2012 again. Counting again. Obviously after the 90s, but they after it again, and then that was the beginning of the end. After that, it was over because Marvel took off in 2012, and DC wanted to copy them. And then after that, it was a wrap. They began making silly mistakes, dumb mistakes, and eventually idiotic mistakes.
Thing is, the first time they lost the plot, that time it was you could easily find out why. It was mostly down to McDonald's and toy sales. Like what Tim Burton was doing, it was very much a case of we can't make toys out of this. So
you can't.
Yeah, look at the penguin. Just look at Dan DeVito's penguin. You seriously make a McDonald's toy out of that? No.
Like, see, the thing is, certain toys have to be like marketable. You know, they have to look appealing to kids. They have to look cool to kids. Penguin doesn't look cool. You know,
he doesn't look
cool. He looks creepy. He scares kids.
Yeah.
Penguin makes babies cry. So that's not a good toy. But Bane, a big buff man? Come on. That's literally the bread and butter of action figures. A big buff man. That's the bread and butter of action figures.
I mean,
and that's why they lost the plot.
Yeah. And also Catwoman. Right. Catwoman was very sexual in that movie. You're not making a toy out of that, dude. That's just...
Like, it doesn't even look like Tom Hardy. Like, this is a very bad toy for a good movie. But also, kids don't care about looking bad or good. Kids just buy whatever. Or rather, their parents buy whatever.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
Thing is, when Batman Begins rolled around, that problem was no longer a thing. You didn't see people going to see Batman Begins and being like, oh no, I can't take my child to see Batman anymore. You shouldn't have been taking the child to see Batman in the first place. Just...
Exactly, dog. Like...
shit.
The weird thing is, as the years progressed, they made a better looking Tom Hardy face, but the body is kind of piss poor. Yeah. Like, the irony with these toys, the face on the second one looks good, but the body is shit. And on the first one, the face looks like shit, but the body is okay.
But the body, he's just a dude, man. Like, it's just a regular dude. Like,
it's a generic Ken body.
Yeah.
With Bane's head popped on top. And the first one is actually like how big Bane was, a la Tom Hardy's workout. But yeah, I don't think kids care about how buff Bane looks as long as he's Bane. You know, kids are dumb.
Yeah. Oh, dude. I'm so glad that era is behind us.
So this is from McDonald's. So the one that you see, the one that is, okay, so the first one, right? The first one is from Mattel, or Mattel.
Yeah.
Mattel. Second one is from Toy Biz. Third one is McDonald's. That's the one I just in right now. And that one is even worse. I think the third one is a combination of bad face and bad body.
What the hell?
Which shows how capitalistic one of us is. This is a 2012 McDonald's TDKR toy from McDonald's.
Everything is wrong. Just
everything. Body, face, mask.
Look at his mask. Just everything is wrong with this, man. Like,
okay, look at his vest. His straps are all green. Everything is green. Everything that's not green is the belt buckle. Like, yo, go see them. And this is literally capitalistic greed. You make these crap-ass toys that you know will sell hundreds of millions to accompany a movie. Simply because you know that kids will buy anything that asks the appearance for. You make crappy toys, and it's the fact that, just look at this idiocy. They made Batman bigger. This is still McDonald's. They made Batman bigger than Bane. Taller. Bigger.
And
Physically
bigger.
imposing. What is that? How does that make sense? They literally used, I swear to God, they used a generic doll body for Bane. And they used a custom body for Batman. I honestly, 100% fully believe that is what they did. Because it's night and day, dog. Bane can fit in Batman's body in this picture. What is that? What kind of Bane toy is that? And what kind of Batman? Okay, the Batman toy is actually kind of good. But the Bane toy is piss poor. Just look at that. Why is Bane like 5'7", and Batman is like 6'4"? What is that? Just tell me when you see the picture.
I see it, and it's fucked up. He's too tall. He's too wide. Like just.
And you see it, dog. It's not even perspective. It's literally how the toys work. Here's another angle. And like, just off the cuff, why is Batman's neck so skinny? Why? I sent another picture of like a new angle. But why is his neck so skinny? Why is Bane's neck thicker than Batman's? But Batman is taller and wider. Doesn't make any sense. I mean, I get it. Batman had a bit of a cowl in the later movies. You know, his neck was showing. It looked pretty weird. You know, it helped with the cape. But in general, it looked pretty weird for Batman to have a thin neck, because usually, you know, he has a thick neck. I get it. Even in the movie, it was like that. But it wasn't this thin. It wasn't this thin.
His head looks weird,
his neck wasn't
man.
thin, and his arm that big. Just so many things are wrong.
And he didn't have fucking shoulder pads. Since when does Batman have shoulder pads? Like,
dude, like the arms are too big. The neck is too small. He's too tall. So many things are wrong.
Dude.
Like the build is decent, you know. Like they got his individual creases and crevices, and you know, his straps and whatnot. Yeah, cool. It's a good build. But Bane is smaller. Batman has a thin neck, or in this case, thinner than the movies. So why? Make no sense, man.
It's nonsensical. I'm so glad we're done with movie tie-in toys. They always come out shit. Though I'll be honest though about one thing, I do miss movie tie-in video games. Those more often than not were better than the movie.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Because you know what? That one builds on the story of the movie.
Yeah.
It builds. Like the Captain America video game from 2013.
Yeah.
It was a nice game because it continued the World War II story. Because a lot of what we see Cap do in World War II is eclipsed by Red Skull's plotline. But Steve was working at that point. He was working. He was a soldier.
Yeah. The
reason why he's a legend is because he literally fought for like several years. But we hardly see that in the movie.
It's like a montage.
So focused on
That's it.
And Hydra.
Yeah.
But Cap was rescuing thousands of motherfuckers across the country. Like, he was putting in the work. There's a reason why he's a legend. Why he has his own museum dedicated to him and whatnot. Because he really did change the tide of the war. He did. Single-handedly. But we never see that. But the game explores that. And I love the game for that.
Yeah, man. Shit. That's why, a part of me misses those movie tie-in games, because they add to the movie story. Shit. And if the movie wasn't great, the game was often better. Shit.
Exactly. Hey, man.
Hey.
Do you think WB will ever find their footing?
Well, they got Matt Reeves, and the Batman was pretty solid. The Suicide Squad was solid.
That's fully Matt. That's fully.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those movies are fully those directors without studio meddling. But, if they can just pay attention to those and write down a list of like, hey, why did this work? And when we meddled, why didn't this work? If someone can just like write down a list and send it to them, then I think it'll work. And like once those movies start making more money than the movies where they meddle, then it can be like, all right, we need to take a step back.
Exactly.
But on the opposite side of the coin, on the MCU side, once Marvel movies start bombing at the box office, Feige and them are gonna need to be like, okay, we need to step in. Cause yeah.
At that point, you have to.
Cause as bad as Thor: The Dark World was, it did not bomb. As bad as Love and Thunder is, it didn't bomb. It's only when those movies start making, like, losing money, then it's gonna be like, hey, we have to do something. You know? I hope it doesn't come to that, really.
Me too. Honestly, me too. But like, I don't know. It's so tough to know, bro. It's so tough.
Yeah.
Because one, it's like Sony, you know. It's like a Schrodinger's Sony. Like one moment they come out with a very good movie, The Batman, Joker. Next moment they drop the ball and they produce Portrait. Flash, Batgirl, they cancel Batgirl. Flash is probably still gonna come out, maybe not. Like, why? Like, same thing. Sony will make a Spider-Verse. For every Spider-Verse, there are 2 Morbiuses. Why? Why are there 2 Morbiuses? Why not? Why can't you keep producing only Spider-Verses? Why? I'll never understand. Spider-Verse literally had no Marvel Studios. It had no Marvel Studios interference. Nothing at all. That's their baby. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is Sony Pictures' baby. But somehow the very same studio made Morbius the Living Vampire. Jesus Christ. So it really is confusing. It's a case of Schrodinger's whatever. I don't know. Schrodinger's Sony. I don't know. For every good movie, there are so many bad ones. For every good choices, there are so many bad ones. I think, you see, I'm not sure how much of this had with Matt, but why is Joker 2 being a musical? Why? Why is it a musical? Why, guys? Let's really understand this. Why is Joker 2 going to be a musical? How does that make sense? And look, I don't mind Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn. Lady Gaga can act. Okay, she's a musician, she's a good singer, whatever, and she can act. But why is Joker 2 a musical? Okay, why? I don't mind the fact that Lady Gaga is Harley Quinn. She might pull it off. In fact, she could be good. You know, she has the look, she has the blonde hair, she has the height, she has the body, whatever. But why is it a musical? And I'm not sure if that's Matt or Matt's. I'm not sure. I can't say. But that's not a good choice. And if it is Matt's choice, okay, again, this goes exactly back to Marvel. If it is Matt's choice, then reel him back in. Don't make him do that, okay? Don't put Kevin Feige. Don't let him do bullshit. Reel him in. Show him a better path. Reel him back in. I am not looking forward to this musical thing. Because Joker musicals, no. That doesn't mix. It doesn't mix. It doesn't. Not in any world. So I don't know. I honestly do not know anymore. I don't know. Fucking love Joker. Brilliant movie. But why is the sequel a musical? I don't know. I'm scared. I'm very scared.
It's definitely worrisome considering that the director, Todd Phillips, he's not a musical guy. He's before Joker, all they did was comedies.
He's not. Jesus, man.
Like, so his crazy. Biggest roles were literally just directing Hangovers 1, 2, 3. And now he's doing a musical? Just...
Like, a part of me, a large part of me thinks it's not his choice. Because why would he undertake that?
Why would he make a sequel?
Granted. The same question could have been asked if it came down to asking why he's going to undertake the Joker. Because he's Matt Reeves. He's a comedic actor, whatnot. Cool. The same question can be asked. I'll concede to that. But the difference is, what you have here is taking a good director of several movies and integrating them into a new entity. You're not picking them because they want to. This isn't Chloe Zhao. This isn't a Chloe Zhao situation. You just took a good director who understands characters, and you're giving him one character to deal with. That should be fine, right? And it worked. He knocked it out the ballpark. It won an Oscar. Joaquin won an Oscar. Movie won an Oscar. Todd won an Oscar. Good stuff. Mwah. 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 But the difference is now, why would Todd ever want to do a musical? It's not in his nature. It doesn't feel like Todd. So a large part of me isn't sure if it truly is his idea. I can't even lie. You know?
Yeah, man. It's certainly going to be an interesting one. It is certainly going to be an interesting film when it pops, though. Because the last one was so... This is going to be such a shift, though. Tonally speaking, anyway. Because the last one was this serious drama about a man slowly spiraling into a psychotic break, basically. And this one, like Folie, deux, like that title is like, it is reference to like when two patients like share a condition. So, yeah, I mean, like, what does that mean for the movie? Is that referencing Harley and Joker? Are there going to be two Jokers? Like, just, like, what's going on? I don't know.
I don't know. And, because, okay, the last movie ends in like a bit of up to your own interpretation. You know, does he die? Does he go back to the asylum? Does he escape? We don't know. We're not really sure.
Did any of this happen? We don't know. Just
yeah, but obviously he does live because he's getting a sequel. Now with that, how the hell do you integrate Harley? Because that would mean that he didn't escape. Actually, he still did. And the thing is, there's no Arkham yet. You know, because did the Waynes build an Arkham yet? Did they?
There was a Arkham, but it's not Arkham Asylum. There was like Arkham General Hospital or something.
It's the Arkham building. It's the precursor to Arkham. You know, so is that where he's being held? Is he being held at the precursor to Arkham? Because what we have only is what is it? Arkham Hospital, right? Hospital. I think so, right? Is it hospital or Gotham Hospital?
It's Arkham. I remember Arkham General. There was a hospital that he went to get the files on his mom, but like.
Yeah, see, there you go. Arkham State Hospital. It's an actual hospital.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is it really an asylum? I don't know.
There was a dude screaming tied to a bed, so maybe, I mean...
Yeah. So I guess it is because the name Arkham is made. Right. Now, obviously, that's a recent retcon. It's a recent retcon, right? A la the Batman and a few comics from 2016. It's a recent retcon, but does that mean that the Waynes already built Arkham? Because the building literally has Martha's maiden name. Is that what it means? Or in this continuity, does Arkham not mean Martha's maiden name? I don't know. I don't know. Is it an asylum yet? Does the state hospital just mean crazy, loony bin? Who knows? Because they don't give us answers. Granted, Martha's mom was there because, she had delusions that Thomas Wayne impregnated her, and the thing is, they don't even clarify if it really was delusions or if Thomas did sleep with her. We don't know. It's up in the air. It's all interpretation. Because the thing is, she is crazy. She is crazy, and then, of course, because of that, he kills her. Because I guess she lied to him his whole life, whatever it is. But did Thomas really stick a dick inside of her, or is she just crazy? What's the truth? And if he didn't, then who's his dad? So there's a lot of questions up in the air. So if he's in Arkham now, it must mean that even in the last movie, Dr. Harleen Quinzel worked at Arkham State Hospital, right?
Because that
surely
magic, yeah.
it would have to mean that. Surely it would have to mean that Dr. Harleen Quinzel was already a qualified psychologist and employed at Arkham State Hospital. And then that means that, okay, also another question, and I'm only asking because I literally don't know. At the end of the movie, when Joker gets arrested, does he go to Arkham or does he go to the same place he was at the beginning of the movie? Where does he go?
They don't say. He's just there. He's just there. It's sitting across from that doctor. He's just somewhere.
Say it is Arkham State Hospital. If he's there, but then also he escaped because he caused a riot throughout the city. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's a very good movie, but it leaves a lot of questions open-ended for good reason. Because Todd never intended to make a sequel, but then now there's a sequel, and evidently Joaquin is coming back, despite saying he doesn't do sequels, he doesn't do franchises. Okay, we get it, Joaquin. If the bank's big enough, you will come back. We get it. But how are you gonna explain everything from the first movie? Will you explain it? Will you gloss over it? No. And I feel like that's going to be Warner Brothers' fuck up. Somehow, I just have a worry they're going to fuck it up.
Yep.
Jeez.
Thing is with Joker and his film, it's just the thing with making it a musical. There was this rumor going out online that the musical sequences are going to be like in Harley Quinn's head, like they were in Birds of Prey. But, like, okay, if that's the thing, I can see that. But, like, does that mean in this movie Harley's already crazy? She's already there? Joker and them are already a thing?
Like, crazy? Okay, here's one thing I can get, right? Say she becomes crazy because of the riot, maybe? I don't know. Like, if you have the sequel pick up directly from the beginning of the end of the last movie, you have ensuing riots in Gotham. People are jokering. They're wearing makeup. They're revering Joker. You know, for some reason he's a crazy guy, but they're revering. You know, supposed normal citizens, you know, are like worshiping the psychopath. I don't know why, whatever. Because the Joker never had a fan base of like regular civilians, but in this movie he does. But it's fine. It's fine. It's still a good movie. Cool. If you pick up from the last movie, you can have the ensuing riots, of course, also being the same night where Bruce's parents died. You have these ensuing riots culminating with driving Harleen Quinzel crazy somehow. I don't know how, but how would she become crazy? Because obviously, in Harley was created for that animated series, so she has no comics history past. She has no comics history before the night. She was created for the show by Paul Dini. Cool. Now, obviously, in the show, she falls in a vat of acid, just like Joker, and becomes crazy, just like Joker. In the comics, of course, after the success of BTAS and the whole Timverse, they put her in the comics. They give her runs. They give her the exact same origin. She jumps in a vat of acid because Joker seduced her or whatever, and she willingly turns herself into a female Joker, pretty much. How's that going to happen in this movie? Because this movie is very grounded in reality. You know, the Joker's makeup is paint. It's not like a deformity. It's not radiation. It's not this, that. It's paint. How are you going to make Harley crazy without a vat of acid? As is her origin. I don't know. But having said that, it's not to say that Zack fully understands these characters, a la Martha.
We well and truly, for the first time, have no idea what's going on.
No idea. We don't even have any theories. The theories we can corrupt. There's no vat of acid. The Joker didn't pull an acid. He had one bad day. I mean, okay, sure. The whole trope of one bad day, it does keep in line with Joker, but there was no vat. There was no Batman. Batman is a kid. He's Bruce Wayne. He's like 9 years old.
Plus, lest we forget, Warner Brothers themselves said that Arthur Fleck isn't the Joker. He's most likely a guy who inspired the Joker. So there's that.
Apparently not. So evidently, characters who are essentially Joker, who go on to inspire Joker and Harley. Now, with that, are you telling us that Dr. Harleen Quinzel is not the Dr. Harleen Quinzel who falls in love with the real Joker? Which means there are two psychologists in Gotham named Dr. Harleen Quinzel who go on to inspire, who one goes on to inspire another one. Is that what you mean? Because if this isn't the actual Joker, why are you giving him the actual Harley? You know, what do you mean by that? So it's all confusing regardless. Because I remember that they were like, "Yeah, this isn't the Joker. This is the guy who inspired the Joker," which is why Bruce is still a kid. So when Bruce grows up, he'll meet his Joker eventually, and then that Joker will have a Harley. But what's Harley's name in this movie? Will it not be Harleen Quinzel? Because seemingly it can't be, right? Because Harleen Quinzel, if anything, has to be either younger or similar in age to Bruce Wayne, and then in the future will go on to be seduced by the real Joker who has yet to appear, who took inspiration from this Joker. Because he calls himself Joker. Now, I don't know, dude.
It's a mess.
Like, I'm lost. No theory makes sense. Because the timelines don't match. What Warner Brothers said, that, you know, what Warner said doesn't match. Because if this ain't the Joker, why are you giving him Harley? Why are you giving him Dr. Harleen Quinzel? So they're already fucking things up before the movie started. And that worries me. That worries me to no end.
Just, we well and truly have no idea what's happening. And that's worrying beyond, like, normal measures. Because, like, they fucking up everything. There's nothing that they've done in the last 2 years you can look at and be like, okay, that was pretty good. Like, there's the Suicide Squad, there's the Batman, but that wasn't them. That was the directors themselves doing that.
So it's like every time they just... I don't know, man. I honestly don't know.
Hey, did you read what I sent? That paper?
I read it. I mean, it's...
It goes some way to explain what happened.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, they're just going to have to give the rights back. Because I don't understand how they're going to get it right at this point. They're so meddled. That... Yeah, Sony, I mean, with this, it's clearly Sony is dumb. With this, it's clearly Sony is the one who is incompetent. Not exactly Espinosa. I mean, he's kind of clueless himself, you know. He literally gave spoilers in an interview with Vanity Fair. He is clueless himself. But Sony also has a hand. Sony is also culpable.
There were scenes that they filmed without him. Like, they say right here that some of the scenes had to be reshot, and dude wasn't there for that.
Yeah. So, True. It was a team effort to make that movie as bad as it was. Espinosa and Sony.
Yep. Oh, Jesus. A team effort to mess up. Just... I think Jared Leto's done now. Just...
Have what?
I think Jared Leto is done now.
Oh, yeah, it's over.
Maybe not totally as an actor, but, like, he's done in terms of the superhero thing. Because he tried with Joker. Didn't work. Tried again with Morbius. Didn't work. And it was worse, actually. It got worse, so...
I don't know. I think... Dude, I honestly don't see a way out other than giving back Marvel the rights. I see no other way out.
It's everything? Or just Spider-Man?
The thing is, here's the thing right now. Mikey is worrying me lately. I hope Secret Invasion and She-Hulk is good. Okay, here's the thing. The Marvel shows have been good. They have been good, good enough to sustain. Keep me on Feige's side for the most part. Obviously, these shows aren't perfect because there are several inconsistencies that coincide with movies. Just a perfect example is WandaVision is setting up the fact that Wanda had to save her as they were in peril as a shouted for help in another universe, right? But then MOM opens with her just wanting to steal someone else's kids. Where are your kids? The ones who actually spent the duration of WandaVision with you? Because clearly they exist somewhere. Or, if anything, there's a version of those kids who are in danger right now and need saving. So where are those kids right now? Where are those kids? Why didn't we see them? So yeah, that's one thing I hate. Sometimes these things aren't inconsistent. Sometimes they have just weird changes, right? So I think in terms of rating every show, the best show was Loki. Loki had the least amount of mistakes, if none. Loki really had the least amount of mistakes. Leave the instance-ish. That's like, okay, yeah, whatever. Loki, the show, the quality of Loki, it had the least amount of mistakes in these Marvel shows. Because what you have now is Falcon and Winter Soldier. You have the whole Flag Smasher thing where what they're doing, a world without borders, is kind of a good endeavor. But in order to make us not side with her, they make her a villain by making a they make a black orphanage. Because literally, we're literally on her side. We literally understand all of her complaints, all of her ideology. We understand everything. But then Marvel can't have us sympathizing and siding with her. So, what did they make her do? She blows up an orphanage in episode 4. Why not? It's completely out of character, but it's fine because they had to find some way for us to hate her because we can't love the villain of the show when the actual hero is Captain America. So they had to find a way to make her evil, and it didn't work. It fell flat. Plus, there's a whole thing of the whole Corona storyline that was shoved.
Yeah, there was supposed to be a virus.
The whole thing with the leader of the original Flash Smashers, Carly was part of, and then that person was sick. When it turns out that person actually had COVID in the actual MCU, but then they kind of scrapped it and they made it a mystery sickness, and then they died. But they had filmed several scenes having to do with like this sickness, this person died of the sickness. But then I think they removed it because it wouldn't make sense. Because the MCU right now, even back then, they were already 4 years ahead of us. And our pandemic was 2020. Why is their pandemic in 2024? It makes no sense. So yeah, they scrapped it. It did. But to justify Carly being evil like that as well, in tandem of the removed storyline, made the series a bit weak.
Yeah, but not only that, dude, but the whole viral thing,
especially with Azera Bradley,
Yeah, but having a virus be the inciting incident would be kind of insensitive.
Government experimenting on people. But several things were wrong in that show. But the show was okay. What If had a few weak episodes, just weak and boring, a la the Carter episode, Captain Carter. It's essentially first Avenger, but female.
Actually, that was just Captain America First Avenger, but with her instead of Steve. That's really all that was, man. Think about it.
First Avenger. We're saying the same thing, bro. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We're saying the same thing. So that episode fell flat. Other episodes, of course, that was scrapped. Just like the plot line with Stark and Gamora in Sakaar and whatnot. That's season 2. It was supposed to be season 1, but then because of COVID, they couldn't animate the shows in time, and they kind of moved that episode to season 2. But also, yeah, like What If was nice, but they could have done more, given that it's animation. It could have been more creative. It was a good series, but they could have been more creative with it. And then, the show, Moon Knight, again, whole Khonshu Arthur Harrow thingy, you don't need that. You don't need him named Arthur Harrow. You don't need, just several things. Muna was great, but several things were like, huh? Why? A bit confusing.
Hawkeye,
it had some filler episodes that I didn't enjoy. The LARPing thing, very dumb. I didn't need that. I did not need that. Fuck is LARPing? I don't give a fuck. The cops helping at the end, being unable to rally people outside until they change the outfits. Like, what are you talking about? You're cops. Just rally them out. Why must you put on your costume to suddenly be able to rally, to control a crowd? Being a cop literally involves crowd control, so why does putting on your LARPing outfit suddenly make you be able to do crowd control if you're a fucking cop? So yeah, didn't work. I think they played a bit loose and goose with Fisk, even though he was it was a good intro. It was a good intro, and I loved how they amped him in power, but ultimately they could have used him more. They could have done more with him. And then, of course, you have the whole Eleanor thing, and the whole, but Eleanor's evil, she's going to jail. It didn't really fall, it didn't really stick landing with me. Eleanor wasn't a good villain, even though she was kind of painted to be evil from the start. And also the fact that, for some reason, they did not make it so that Jack Duquesne is the person, or one of the people in his life who had trained Hawkeye. Because in the comics, Jack Duquesne, of course, the swordsman, trained Hawkeye as a teenager, but now you have this actor who plays Lalo Salamanca in Better Call Saul. He's younger than Jeremy Renner by like 2 years, so he can't even be his mentor anymore. So wasted opportunity. Jack Duquesne being 40-something falls flat when you're not gonna have him be linked to Hawkeye, who's also like 40-something, 50-something. So it's just like several things there could have been better, but yeah. And the whole Elena thing about how she's mad at Clint for, I guess, she thinks that he killed Hawkeye. What, does the world not know that Natasha sacrificed herself? Like, does Earth not know Natasha sacrificed herself for Infinity Stones? Did she not know that? How dumb is it that people know that Thanos had stones, right? And Captain Marvel was in the fight. Okay. Now, when WandaVision came out, we asked ourselves, wait, how does Jimmy Woo and Darcy and Monica know that Captain Marvel was in Endgame and she was fighting Thanos? How do they know? But then now we do know that they know because Scott has a podcast.
Yeah.
Which would mean that Scott is divulging Avengers information, right? Right. So, and of course, in Quantumania, Scott is famous now, right? He's famous. He's like a published author. He has a podcast. We even see the podcast in Ms. Marvel. So that way, we know how the general public knows about the Avengers. We know how there are these documentaries in fucking Far From Home, right? We know how there are these Infinity Stone documentaries. We know how there's an Avengers documentary. We know how there's a Thanos documentary because of Scott divulged, and then things were created after that. But why doesn't he let, of all people to not know, why doesn't he let Natasha sacrifice herself because of the Thanos, the fucking villain?
Because Scott didn't know, man. Scott wasn't there. He wasn't there.
Huh?
Scott didn't know. He wasn't there. And they didn't tell him. What would they tell him?
Sacrifice herself for the stones. When they came back from 2012, 14, 20, whatever. They knew not sacrifice herself.
They know.
Dude. They knew she was sacrificed. They knew that she sacrificed herself. Scott was with them on
the platform.
The pier,
the
Avengers compound pier when Hulk throws the bench. He was there. He was there with them.
No, he was on the platform when they were that moment
Scott was there. He knew that Natasha sacrificed herself for the stones. So why doesn't he let her know that?
No.
And why doesn't she believe Clint when he says the other way? You literally know that you were snapped. You were snapped. A purple alien snapped you for 5 years. You know this, Elena. You know this. Don't be dumb. Okay? You're a Black Widow. You're hyper intelligent. You're a trained fighter. You're a multiple tactician. And you're very smart. Don't be dumb. Okay? You know that Thanos exists. You know that he wiped you out specifically for 5 years using stones. And we should know, the general public, that Nat sacrificed herself for the stones. We know that. We should know that. There's a fucking plaque in New York in Hawkeye that says dedicated to Natasha Romanoff, Tony Stark. We know this. What's up? Like we know this, dog. We know this. So why she doesn't know that is a plot hole. It's a plot hole and it's dumb. And even when he did explain, and the thing is, the show makes it a point to be like, okay, so Clint will continue to get beat up by Yelena, because even if he were to explain, she wouldn't believe him. But come on, dog. We live in a world of aliens and magic and gems and aliens who wipe out the entire population of the universe. We live in a world where these things happen. So why wouldn't you believe him if he were to explain himself? Because he never once said he jumped off a cliff on another planet to get the stones that we needed to bring back everyone from being snapped 5 years ago, including you, Yelena. You were brought back by Natasha's sacrifice. Why wouldn't he explain that? Because given the world, that would make sense.
Given the life they've been living,
it doesn't make sense why, she's like suddenly completely unaware of the reason why Natasha had to die. Scott would have said everything. If people know that fucking Captain Marvel was fighting Thanos, Helen wasn't even around. Captain Marvel when she was fighting Thanos, he wasn't around. He was in the fucking van. He was looking for the van with Hope. He was searching for the van with Hope. He didn't see Captain Marvel fight Thanos, but he reported on it. Why? Because someone told him. Someone in the battle told him, and then he told everyone else in the world. And that's why Jinny Woo knows. That's why Monica knows. That's why Marcy knows. That's why they know that Captain Marvel was fighting Thanos in Endgame. That's why they know, because of Scott. Now, why wouldn't you know that Natasha was, again, sacrificed herself for stones? Why?
Just sent you a shot.
It's a good show, but
he was not at that pier.
A few things they fall flat, and that's the issue with these shows. These shows, as good as they are, they're never 100% perfect, except for Loki. Because nothing in Loki makes no sense. Nothing. Everything in Loki makes sense.
It's not tied to anything.
There's nothing there where you're like, wait, why?
I wouldn't say nothing.
There's never a moment in Loki where you ask yourself why. With the other shows, it's like, wait, but why? So, yeah. It's I don't, do I sound nitpicky? I don't know what it is. Do I sound nitpicky?
No, it's just, with regards to, Scott not telling people, I still go back to the point of he was not there. He was not on that pier. There's a shot, I just sent you a shot of the pier, and he's nowhere to be seen. Just saying.
But here's the thing.
Plus, he didn't know that. Why would he?
There, he is on the fucking quantum platform when they get back.
Yeah.
And everyone knows that he's dead. Now, okay.
He knows that she is dead. That's how...
Hear me out. If you can't accept that Scott did not know that Nat sacrificed stuff for stones, then why do you accept Scott apparently knew that Captain Marvel had a 1v1 with Thanos?
Now listen.
He wasn't there as well.
This is what I'm saying, okay? He wasn't at that pier when they were breaking down what happened. All Scott knows from being on that platform, and when dude asks, where's Nat? He knows that she died somehow. She didn't make it back, so she must be dead. That's all. And that's how Yelena knows that she is dead, because where else would she get the info?
Hold on, 4-year-old. Remember, we, the real people in the real world, are watching a movie. Okay, keep in mind, we're watching a movie. There is not a time to sit down and explain every little thing that happens in scenes, okay? We know that you can't go from the Avengers platform, you can't go from the quantum platform to the pier. They had to have stayed inside, continued talking, realized the severity and the true weight of what they had done, and then gone outside. You don't just go from a quantum platform, and then boom, you're outside. No. You stay inside. You talk about what happened. You talk about what exactly occurred, because he wasn't saying anything. Everyone would want answers, because Hulk he asked him a question and he didn't reply. But again, the scene in the real MCU world, we're watching a movie. You don't just go from a quantum platform to sitting outside. They had to have spoken. Everyone knew that she sacrificed herself because Thor said, "Bring her back." Thor was like, "Bring her back," and then Clint was like, "Well, you go tell the floating skull guy to bring him back. You take your hammer and you go talk to him and then see what he says." How you like that? Which means Thor knows, right? That means Thor knows she died like that. It means Tony knows. It means everyone sitting on the pier knows she died like that.
That's what I'm saying. Everyone on that platform. Everyone on that platform knows she's dead. But he didn't go into details as to how it happened until they got to that pier where Scott wasn't there. All he knows is that she died somehow. He does not know that she died to get that stone. I mean, he knows that she died to get that stone, but he doesn't know how.
There's no way possible Clint would tell anyone what happened from the moment they got back on the platform all the way until they're sitting outside in the pier. Doesn't make sense.
Okay, if that's just stats on the thing, why aren't they there? Why aren't they all? Dude.
Cap says, "Look at the family," before Clint has a little mini breakdown at Thor. He says that they know she's dead, but the thing is, there is no possible way that they know she's dead, but they don't know how she died. There's no way possible that they know she's dead, but they don't know how she died.
They know. I'm saying
that they come back on the platform to the moment when they're grieving outside in the dark area. There's no way. There's no way that they don't know the full details. There's no way that they don't know that since her and Clint went to Vormir, first of all, when they were still planning, they know. Everyone knows, as spoken by Nebula, Thanos went with Gamora and came back alone. They know that. They know that he came back alone. They know that he going to Vormir to get a Soul Stone means that one person comes back. They didn't think about it deeply, which is why they were surprised that she was dead. Which again, it's kind of a plot hole, right? Because we know that Nebula literally said Thanos came back alone. They know that. Tony himself knows that Gamora was sacrificed. Tony himself knows. He's known for 5 years. Tony knows. Everyone knows that when Gamora went to Vormir with Thanos, he sacrificed her. Tony knows that already, because he was on Titan. Tony knows. Fucking Nebula knows. Nebula was just filling in the people who weren't on Titan about
didn't know the specifics.
Thanos went with Vormir with Gamora and came back alone.
I ain't disputing that.
The whole thing of Nat is dead, surprisingly enough, and everyone's shocked, makes no sense when you realize that Tony or Nebula would have told them about everything that Vormir is about. Everything that Vormir is about. And with that, even if neither of them told them what happened on Vormir, there is no incomprehensible way that Clint didn't say that Nat sacrificed herself for the Soul Stone that I'm currently holding in my hand right now. There's no way he wouldn't have explained what happened before they got up here. That is incomprehensibly impossible. Because we're watching a movie, scenes skip, but that's not the only dialogue that happens in the movie. Dialogue happens behind the scene. Dialogue that we don't see.
I know that. I know that's why the scene begins with Cap saying, "Did she have any family?" Because they just heard. Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because she's dead. They know she's dead.
They know she's dead in that moment. What I'm saying is, on that platform, dude must have laid out what was going on. He laid out that she died. And then they went to that fucking pier for some privacy. You can tell because Rhodey's not there. Nebula's not there. Scott ain't there. It's just the core group.
If you can concede that Clint explained behind the camera what happened to Nat on the pier, why couldn't he have explained behind the camera what happened to Nat when he was on the platform? Because the only thing that Clint says is, why don't you go to the Skull guy and you take your axe and you get her back? That's all he said. He didn't say that she sacrificed herself to the Soul Stone on the pier. He never exactly explained how she died on the pier. He just said, if you have an issue with this, you can take your skull, you can take your axe and go to the and go to the red floating guy. Which means that they have prior context in the conversation to know who the red floating guy is. Otherwise, they would have said, wait, what red floating guy? So, seemingly, they already knew. Because he never explained. He never explained. We saw, because it's a movie, but not once in the movie did he speak to the Avengers and tell them what happened. And yet, he tells Thor to go find the red floaty guy and take his axe. How would Thor know who he is if he had never explained what happened before? They obviously knew at that point.
Yes.
They obviously knew.
The people on that pier knew what was going on. They knew what was up. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I'm not disputing that. I'm agreeing on that. The people on that pier knew what was up. All right?
Yeah.
All I'm saying. I'm not saying he didn't tell them.
Scott isn't there.
I'm just saying. Let me finish. Let me say my piece, man. All I'm saying is that Scott wasn't at that pier. And another thing is, why would he be? He ain't that core group. He doesn't know Nat from Eve, man. They literally met in that fight at the airport and when they met up to do this time heist. Outside of that, they have no interpersonal connection. So he ain't a dick. He would be bummed one of his teammates didn't make it. But other than that, he would not care. He wouldn't be there. It's their thing. Nebula isn't there either. Rhodey isn't there either. Just saying.
Here's the thing. You actually explained my point for me by saying what you just said. Because he's not part of the core group. Which means the only reason why they're on the pier is not to debrief on Nat's passing. It's to mourn.
That's what I'm...
It's not because they're there. They were debriefed in private. They were just there to mourn.
That's what I'm saying.
Walk through a bin. They were just there to mourn. You literally just proved my point.
That's what I'm saying.
They were not.
He wouldn't be. He wouldn't be there.
That was just a place. That was just a place for the core group to mourn. Because Rocket wasn't. Nebula wasn't there. Scott wasn't there.
I just said that,
Valkyrie, like no one else was there.
I just said that. I literally just said that.
Not because they were being briefed there.
Dude, I just said that. That is literally what I just said. What are you... You're repeating what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
He already said what happened to Nat. He already said what happened to her, like how she died. They knew she was... Come on. If a nigga's gonna fall on his knees, she's obviously dead. But at that point, they knew how she died. And then they left the compound to go mourn at the pier. But what I'm saying is, Gamora was briefed, Scott was briefed, because that would have happened when they were still on the platform about what happened to Nat. Because why wouldn't you say it? Why wouldn't you? And literally by the same virtue that he's telling Thor to go see the red floaty guy, it means that he's already mentioned him before. Which means it happened in a conversation behind the scenes. Which would logically be when they just got back. Which will be when Scott... Boom.
Dude. Like, he's breaking down what I'm saying.
But the point is, they... For some reason, Yelena does not know that Nat sacrificed herself.
But
however,
she knows that she is dead.
However, Wu knows that Captain Marvel was fighting Thanos and Scott wasn't around. Please. That to me literally means that someone told Scott, oh yeah, Captain Marvel had a little boxing match with Thanos. Scott wasn't around during that fight. He wasn't. Not even a fight. It lasted like what? Like 10 seconds? But somehow Jamie Wu, fucking FBI agent knew? No. They got that from Scott's podcast. Because how would they know? How would Monica know? How would Jimmy Woo know? How would Darcy know? How would Darcy Lewis know if she hasn't seen Thor since 2015-14? How would she know? They got it from Scott's podcast. And if they got that from Scott's podcast, when Scott wasn't even around to see that happen, then clearly they also got the fact that fucking Nat sacrificed himself for stones. Which is weird, considering Yelena evidently does not know that. Doesn't make any sense. See, plot holes. We're trying to explain plot holes. We're trying so hard to rationalize plot holes. But it's not working. It's not working. Because Scott didn't see that fight between Thanos.
I'm not saying he did.
But apparently Jimmy Woo and them know. How? Scott's podcast. Okay, cool. That's cool. But why didn't Yelena know? If Scott had a podcast, why didn't Yelena know? Right. And who the hell said that Clint killed Ned? Why would the logical option go there? Why?
I'm pretty sure that was just that lady who was morphing that like what's the name? Elaine. Like that was her. She made that shit up. She didn't say like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure she made that shit up.
And again, this is supposed to be smart Black Widow gets manipulated by a vote of a random man. You're gonna believe this random lady at face value that an Avenger killed another Avenger to save the universe. What? How does that make any sense? How did Contessa Elaine Allegra, whatever the fuck her name is, how did she manage to convince a Black Widow that this Avenger killed another Avenger at the same time while they were trying to protect the universe? How did she convince her? The logical assumption is Yelena is dumb. That is a logical assumption. Yelena is dumb. She's not smart, she's dumb. She snapped for 5 years, but she still can't understand what was happening around her. What? What do you mean? She's dumb.
In the context of that scene where she comes up in that bathroom, like during the snap, when she snaps and then comes back in that same bathroom, in her mind, 5 years hasn't passed. In her mind, it's been like 5 seconds since she like went down to wash her face, and then when she turns around, like, what the fuck is happening? It's been 5 years, but to her, it's been 5 seconds. Like,
by that point, she had to buy appropriately. By the events of Hawkeye, she should know Thanos. She should know the Infinity Stone. Come on, guys. There's literally a shop in New Asgard called Infinity Cones, guys. It's marketing. If New Asgard is using the Infinity Stones as a marketing ploy, it means that society knows about the Infinity Stones. So why doesn't Yelena know that she was snapped by Thanos and Nat had to die for a stone? Doesn't make any sense, guys. Plot holes, plot holes, plot holes, plot holes. Feige, fix this. Fix this, Feige. God damn it. Fix this. Because it makes no sense, you know what I mean? There's so many plot holes. So many.
Yeah.
I feel like Scott's podcast was definitely an afterthought. And I'll tell you why.
Like, we don't have a character to worry about in that vein anymore. All the characters we wanted to see are here. All our favorite characters are already here. So
the only issue we have that these characters have to keep, they can't stop being good.
Yeah.
They have to keep being. That's the only issue. That's the only problem right now we're facing.
Yeah. That's the only, like, to come back with consistent, like, levels of, like, quality. Yeah, you have to maintain that quality. The biggest mistake you can make as a filmmaker is to have, like, your first movie be your best movie. Because every movie that comes after has to match that now.
And you know what's funny? The iconic Sam Raimi wrote that curse. Just how crazy is that? Mm-hmm. You know, Donner's one was amazing. His 2 was meddled with, and then they brought in another Richard Lester. And then 2 was, bad. Batman Begins. No. Batman. What's the movie called? With 89? Just Batman.
The Batman. Right. Oh, it's just Batman. Robert Pattinson is the
89.
Batman. Yeah.
Yeah. So with Keaton, it was Batman 89. That was good. People loved it. They judged it, but they loved it. And then 2 was not to the same quality. And then they dropped him in favor of Schumacher and then he came in for 3, and then did, Batman and Robin, and then that died completely. But not a single director, up until Sam Raimi, in the superhero genre now at least, had made a good second follow-up to their first movie. And Sam Raimi broke that curse. And I'll forever love and respect that man. Even though MOM wasn't as good as what we initially thought it would be, I still respect his character that he created. Because he literally crafted the Maguire Spider-Man. That's his baby. And I will always acknowledge and respect that. That's his baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know how many, I probably seen about, dude, I don't even want to lie, hey. I've probably seen, like, at minimum, like 50 video essays about why Spider-Man 2 is the greatest movie of all time. Or, a variation of that, of, like, why Spider-Man 2 is such a groundbreaking spirit movie, how Spider-Man 2 perfectly praised I've seen so many video essays, and I agree with every single one of them. Because Spider-Man 2, again, in my opinion, and I've said this before, and I don't know if you remember, but I've said it before, that Spider-Man 2 for me is the greatest superhero movie of all time, for me. I think I said it last year as well, and when we were, when I was getting my tattoo after No Way Home.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 for me is the greatest superhero movie of all time, for me. Love that movie.
It is awesome.
It holds a special place in my heart. Forever. A place that even Endgame can't even fit. A place even No Way Home can't fit. As much as I love No Way Home.
Yeah.
Because we do see the return of, Tobey's Peter, Andrew.
It doesn't have that personal attachment to it. Yeah.
The emotional first time 2004. Nothing will ever come close. The only reason why I would cry in No Way Home was because of the precedent set. 17 years. That's only why I won. It's the only reason why.
That emotional heft wouldn't be there if you hadn't had those experiences. And thing is, even dude, I know what you mean. More than I can relate. I love Spider-Man 2 also, dude. I saw it in the cinema with my mom. It was an awesome time.
Yeah.
I don't really do that, dude. I haven't really watched a movie with my mom since Real Steel. I think the last movie I saw with her was Real Steel in 2011, and we walked out
There's
of
a special
that. Yeah,
I think Real Steel wasn't good, so it's not as impactful. There's a specialness when you have such a good experience with the person you love. It forms a core memory, though.
It elevates
I feel like
the movie,
what we both have are core memories.
Some inside out biz right here, man.
Just the instances where I think you look at Marvel's name. Marvel's name means something. Marvel happens. DC Detective, that's fine. It's whatever. They don't really do much detecting these days, but it's fine.
They don't do any detecting these days, so yeah.
The name Marvel is such an iconic name. Like, marvel at these stories. These ordinary people who can beat the odds. I remember watching a video essay about why the name Marvel is so impactful. I cried, and I was like, damn, that's so true. Because you look at Marvel, what encompasses Marvel? It's responsibility. It's power. Using that power, it's being the best hero you can be, even if your life isn't going in the way you want to go. Fantastic Four. They have to give up their lives as researchers, as physicists. They got lives. They're entitled to fight crime. The Hulk. He's Bruce Banner, the world's smartest dog. The world's smartest man. Well, next to Reed and Tony, what? But he gave up his entire livelihood after 7 doctorates just to become the Hulk. Because what can you do after that? Tony Stark. He's a man on his deathbed. He's on his deathbed, dog. These people defy the odds. They make the hardest choices that we can't make. Choices we can never make. Because we don't have the power to make them. And these people do. And that's why I fucking love Marvel so much. Like, I'm getting emotional speaking about it right now. Like, I swear to God. Yeah. Right now, I'm emotional. Because it's such an impactful, philosophy that people like Steve Ditko, Stan Lee, and Jack were able to formulate. I don't know how, man, but these people made stories that permeate the time. They really did.
Yeah.
Marvel. Fucking hell. What a beautiful thing.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful world.
Personally, I really resonate. Like, this is fucking beautiful. Thing is, with the Marvel characters, it's that we see these people's lives before they get their powers, dude. We see, like, Peter Parker going through high school. We see Bruce Banner as a scientist. We see these people living life, and life is pretty good. And then something happens. Thing is, that happens to everybody. Like, everybody can relate to your life is going good, and then something happens, suddenly life changes.
Something uproots it out of you.
Yeah. Like, just
you're supposed to not, but you're forced to adapt.
Yeah.
That's the beauty.
We can relate to that. There are plenty of Marvel heroes throughout the lineup where someone can say, I see myself in that person. That could have just as easily been me, you know?
The first movie, MCU now, the MCU movie that I was Cap. When he goes in the ice and he comes, when he said I have a date, I lost it, bro. I was like, fuck. Dude. That carries the message so perfectly of just the choices that these characters have to make. Steve can never go back in time, dog. Because at that point, there was no time machine. He had to accept it, dog. He lost 7 years of his life. He lost the love of his life. Dude, if I lost my girlfriend right now and woke up in another time, I love Futurama or whatever it is, I would be depressed for so long. Because I can never get her back. She's long gone. She's either alive but very old. She's gone. And either option would crush. We see how much it crushes Steve in Civil War to see Peggy so haggardly and old with dementia. It crushes him. And when she finally dies in Civil War, he's devastated. He's crying. Even though his girl was like 90-something years old, he cried. Girl. So for him, it was only a few years ago where he danced with her. For her, it was a lifetime.
Yeah.
So fucking beautiful, man. So fucking beautiful.
And we feel for the guy, man. It's deeply sad, dude. Yeah.
And like, it's back to when he says that, right? The theme plays. Oh, I had a date, and then the theme comes in. Oh, let me see if I can find it. And a date. I'm holding back tears right now.
Hey, this movie is made you. Like, what's that thing that they say? That it's like you may not remember what something looks like or what it like smelled like or whatever, but you'll remember how it made you feel. Like, yeah, dude. These movies make you feel shit.
And I remember, so that week, 11, we just come back from our field. Do you remember? So I'm not sure if you guys at Chelsea went to things as us at Norton's Prime, but we went to Speeddale, we went to Spirit of Adventure, we went to all these places. Did you guys also go there, right?
We went to Spirit of Adventure, yeah.
Yeah. So we came back from Sweetdale. It was 2011, grade 6. So for us, Spirit of Adventure wasn't great, but we had to be on grade 6. I come back from Sweetdale. I knew the movie was going to come out, and I'd asked my dad to give me a ticket for opening day when I come back. And then he fetched me from school, and then he left me in the movies with my cousin, and he watched it. And okay, so here's the scene. crazy, man.
That's
Beautiful.
oh, dude.
DC, as it is, it just can't get this level of emotion out of me. It can't, dog. It can't.
It came close, really close in Zack Snyder's Justice League when that song kicked in during the Flash's run of a Song of the Siren. That song, coupled with that moment, it made me feel. I wasn't sad, but it was a good song with a good scene. Like, yeah. But on the DC side, there was never really a moment where I felt sad.
Okay, so episode. Yeah. That's the thing, dog. Like, it's nothing. Like, I would say, perhaps, the most emotionally impactful scenes. And we're going across DC now, not just, DCEU.
Yeah.
I would say Alfred's promise and fight with Bruce. That I made a promise to your parent to protect you.
That scene.
What you're doing is killing yourself, and I can't stick around for that. That was emotional.
Yeah.
That was quite good. But just there's something about Marvel. There's just something about Marvel. It takes it a step further.
It's magic, man. That movie making magic.
And I realized what it was in No Way Home that made me tear up. It was a rhymey theme. When you see people and Doc interact, and when it kicks in, I was just like, fucking hell. I'm back in 2004, Doc. Like, I'm back in 04.
Mm-hmm.
When that music kicked in, I was back in 04. I was a kid again.
Out of all these fucking movies, like, that movie has a hell of a score.
Astros and Grape/Puppy. Damn.
Good old Danny Elfman, dog.
It hits more than a... And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good thing.
It hits, dude. Dude, I love Hans Zimmer. I love Junkie XL. But they are not Danny Elfman. I'm sorry. Dude, you're not Danny Elfman.
They'll never gonna find it. Oh, wait, I think... Say it.
Yeah.
He was there. He was there when the experiment failed and Doc Ock was born. And then,
all these years later. My God, dude. It just...
And he said... I didn't realize it at first, man.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I didn't realize it. When I saw the movie, I realized it. Then I had to go back to watch Spider-Man 2. And then I watched it again that night. I heard him say that, and I paused. And I was so shocked. I didn't get it. I was like, what? It's kind of like discovering Lil Wayne years later and finding out what it really means. And I was like, trying to do better. Oh, Parker, I remember you. Connors told me about you. He says you're brilliant, but lazy. I'm trying to do better.
Dude. Dude, that score. That's the same score that was playing when they last saw each other. When dude, that moment where Ock stops and he turns to give him one last look before shutting down the machine. That's that song.
And he fixes the nuclear reactor.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
God, that movie's beautiful, man. Shit.
Dude. Both movies hit. But there's something about one. Two.
Yeah.
And it's in two places. It's when he's speaking, and I don't know if it was ever confirmed if she knew he was Spider-Man. I think she did. When they're speaking at the yard sale, and then Peter speaks to the kid, and the kid knows he's Peter Parker, the photographer. So he asks him where Spider-Man is, and he's like, he's gone. And then May is like, well, yeah, Bobby would I think it's Billy, whatever. Billy would really like to see Spider-Man again, and you think he'll come back? And he's like, I don't know. And, let me just pop the scene, honestly.
I know
Speaking
the
about
scene,
it doesn't do it justice.
I've seen that scene so many times, dude. It's like, first of all, the kid's name's Henry. It's up Mark's there.
Yeah, Henry.
Yeah, it's like, Henry and I agree. We don't see his picture in the paper anymore. And then May goes on to talk about, like, kids like Henry need heroes, like, and she gives this speech of, like, I believe there's a hero in all of us, one who keeps us honest and, like, we need to be steady and give up the things we want most, even our dreams. It's like, damn, because...
that is Marvel.
Yes, dude.
That's the defining of Marvel, though. Give up your dreams. Fuck. You give up marriage, career, social life. Fuck, man, that's yeah. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. It doesn't get better than this is the gold standard
of superhero
motivation.
Yeah.
Troubles, personal demons. Oh.
Like
perfect mix.
Dude, I get it.
It's a perfect concept. It makes superhero movies. It's Superman 1. It's Spider-Man in the comics. It's with great power.
Dude, I could tell people, like, you can have your demon in a bottle, your Dark Knight. You can have all that. We have Spider-Man 2, dude. That's way up there. It's way up there, man. Just
way up. I think if they ever make a 4 and Raimi gets his true studio interference free, then if that movie has a brilliant send-off, not only will I cry, because that'll be, I guess, the last time you see Toby in his own movie prior to Secret Wars. After that, there's no more Toby ever again. And that's gonna hit me harder than anything else. That's gonna break me. Because it was bad enough that Toby, but then he came back and I cried. And he's here and he's real and he's old and he's aged. Is that he knows what Peter shouldn't do because he's been through it and didn't help him. When we send him off, fucking hell, I will ball my... I honestly will, because it'll be a 20-year full circle moment if we get Spider-Man 4. That'll be the most full circleist moment I would have ever watched, ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just give him a good send-off and don't have him die. Fuck's sake, man.
Yeah, you can't
die, dude.
Because again, the thing is, Spider-Man 4 will take place canonically before Secret Wars. Secret Wars is way up in the MCU timeline. I think when Secret Wars pulls out, the MCU will be out in 2030. So we'll be seeing a 2030, Peter Parker, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire. So they will be way ahead. But for their own movies as a send-off, I will bawl my eyes out.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Though, in all honesty, we're probably going to get Amazing Spider-Man 3 before we get Spider-Man 4. Yeah.
And you know what's funny? At this point now, there are probably, and I say probably because I don't want to like generalize, but there are probably kids who watched The Amazing Spider-Man when they were 5 years old, and that was 2012.
Yeah.
And nowadays, of course, they're, 13, 14, whatever it is. But when they see Andrew again, it will hit them as hard as being Toby hits us.
Yeah. I mean,
dude, they're 15 right now.
Yeah.
They might not understand the full weight because they are 15 years old. But when they see Andrew in his movie / Secret Wars, it's gonna hit absolutely different. It's gonna hit absolutely different. That's it's almost 20 years since they watched it now. Since they watched it. Not it'll be 20 years since they watched it. But, I don't know.
Yeah.
You honestly have to see.
With, I'm guessing that was their, like, prequel trilogy, in a way, because they were kids when Amazing Spider-Man came out, and... Dude, even then we were the guys who were like, hey, we remember Spider-Man when he was good, you know? Just...
Exactly. I watched all movies I watched all of them because I wanted to capture Spider-Man. I really wanted to. I wanted to feel it again. And I went into the theaters for both movies thinking that this movie will be great. And the first one was okay. The second one was the first one was only like really, really good because Gwen Stacy and Peter and now it's also dealing with the fact that his responsibility still wasn't enough to save her. That was good, that had good ideas. There were good intentions with that. But the execution wasn't as good. And the first one was only good because it's just like, you look at Peter and he is definitely, he's a symbol. In these movies, Peter's a symbol. He's a symbol of hope. He's a symbol of like perseverance.
Basically, New Yorkers coming together in a crisis. That's what that is.
I mean,
I see Spider-Man as like, oh yeah, he represents like New York people coming together during tough times.
Exactly.
Remember that first Spider-Man on the bridge when O's were throwing shit at Green Goblin? It's like the one guy yells, "You mess with Spidey, you mess with New York." It's like, yeah, his people are behind him. No other hero has that. Yeah.
The only credence I'll lend Amazing to is that a scene when Peter saves a small boy from getting bullied. Yeah. And then it's that same small boy we see come back. That is impactful. But I just feel like the editing and pacing of the movie made that fall flat. But that was a good element. Having that kid there is like, okay, yes, Spider-Man at the end of the day is an inspiration. He's an inspiration that you can beat the odds. So what he represents in the Andrewverse is for children, that is, more impactful in that universe. With Maguire, he has really interacted with kids a lot. He's mostly with people his age, but it's still impactful because we're now that age. We are now early 20s people dealing with troubles, dealing with bad days, dealing with good days, in tandem of bad days. So we really, at this point, completely, we feel Peter's pain, his struggles. We completely relate. I think Spider-Man for me, home now, Spider-Man 2, it hits home much more as an adult because I can see the experiences that Peter is going through and I can easily transfigure them into my life, what I experienced, And even as a kid, it's a beautiful movie with a beautiful message. But I love that even as a kid, the message is not lost upon you. There's a deeper message when you're grown up. There's a deeper message. But as a kid, the meaning of the movie and the weight is still not lost upon you. And that is the defining factor of Spider-Man 2. It appeals to everyone gets it. Everyone.
Certainly, man. Absolutely.
And I feel like Spider-Man is the only character you can...
You cut out for a second there, what was that? Yeah?
You can do this with.
Yeah, he is. Because not every Spider-Man, though. Because Tom Holland's Spidey doesn't have that, we are with you moment where, the people of New York rally behind him.
Here's the thing. One thing I can appreciate right now is that Peter is broke again. He's broke. He's not out of stock. anymore. No one knows him. He's back to basics. What I want to see now, I want to see what Tom Holland can do in the Tobey Maguire. Because right now, Tom is literally in his Tobey Maguire era. He has no love. He has no money. He has no family. He's alone. Andrew didn't have much of that, you know. He still kind of had a home with May. He was still living there, being Spider-Man. You know, he had and he lost. But for so long in the Spider-Man trilogy, Peter didn't have MJ. He tried so hard to get her till he realized it's not what he needed, and it's not what he needed right now, given the weight of his responsibilities. But with Andrew, Andrew's pretty lucky. He's hot. He's a very hot. Like, Peter Parker isn't supposed to be hot. He's supposed to be good looking, of course, but Andrew is like a male model to me. And it's not to undercut that Spider-Man. I love Andrew's Peter. Good, it's good.
No,
I cried when Andrew said he was dark and he stopped pulling his punches. Tears welled down my face because I understand a level of pain of losing someone you love and then turning and then having that leap into darkness. I understand that, so I resonate with it. I resonate completely with it. But in his own individual movies, not enough justice was lent and served to the struggles of Peter Parker. But one thing, though, the Gwen death was impactful.
Yeah.
Simply because it would lend itself to Andrew's Peter is now. But the first movie didn't have that much. And that's my only nitpick with that movie. And two is a bit, choppy, it's really all over the place. But with the Raimi films, you feel Peter struggles at every single step. Yeah.
Yeah, there are several moments, especially in the second one, where dude just can't catch a break. Like,
you can't, dog.
Yeah.
Everything, and the thing is, I've definitely been there, man. I've been in a moment where, like, dude, God, can I just catch a break, dog? My day is really so shit. Why do you have to keep throwing these things at me? Like, I've many times, dog. This year, many times. So you watch Spider-Man 2 and you understand that you are exactly in the same position where Peter Parker is right now.
Yeah.
This is him. Peter Parker is a mirror image of us. That's the beauty of it.
God, man. Dude, I hate to wrap this up, but I keep getting these messages of, you have X amount of data. You have X amount of data. Like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Dog, I don't want to kill you, honestly. I'm on Wi-Fi, I don't want to be unfair to you. Just tell me when you're ready to tap.
Like, final thoughts, man? Like.
Final thoughts?
Yeah, just not on this whole 6 hours, because that's its own thing. But
Yeah. Nah, I get you. Being adults, I think being an adult now, there's a greater understanding of the world around us and a greater appreciation of the people we have in our adults. It's so we don't have many people. We lose friendships, high school friendships, college, whatever it is. And it's so important to have these people in our lives. And with that, you compare, so right now we're Peter Parker, We're Peter Parker. We have our Harry Osborn, we have our one little friend, and then we have our Mary Jane or whatever it is. And then we have these struggles of life, and now we've got to balance everything. Yeah. And the trick is where a life is more dangerous for us as opposed to Peter's life, is that we have to balance everything. But Peter can't. Peter can't have love and speed. He can't. But we have to balance it. We balance depression and school, social lives, and maintaining friendships. So, if anything, the greatest Peter Parker to man
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are my thoughts.
That was beautiful, man. Shit.
Yeah.
Damn, man. Like, damn, dude. I can't really comp that under the. I mean, I can't top that, but I can just say that you're right on. As adults, you know, we learn to value the relationships that we've managed to maintain this far, and relish and cherish the moments that we've had in the past. Like looking back, we realize how big certain moments were, even if in the moment we didn't appreciate them, but we can look back and say, hey, I miss those times, or I really did enjoy that, and I appreciate it even more now. You know, yeah. So, as always, man, it was truly an experience talking to you all this time. You know, whether we was reminiscing about the past or
That's
just
the longest call I've ever had with someone who wasn't my cousin or girlfriend. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, not much else to say today except hey, enjoy the rest of your day, man.
Enjoy the rest of the evening, man.
Yeah.
And even weekend, because Thursday's practically Friday.
Practically, yeah. Shit.
Yeah.
Just a really long Friday, Just...
Enjoy the Thursday, enjoy the Friday. I'll try and call tomorrow, but I'm not sure how free you are. Plus Arta. So you'll just let me know on like WhatsApp how you feeling.
Yeah. I mean, I got a test to do, but yeah.
I feel like in this life there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
And there's a quote from the office spoken by a character named Andy in the finale of the show.
Yeah.
He was like, I wish you knew you were in the good old days before they ended.
Yeah.
And right now, we're in the good old days. And we should be aware of and enjoy it. Because these really are the good old days. Times might get better than this, but they might also get worse. But right now, it's time to cherish everything that we have. Just truly cherish it.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Hey, as always, man, goodbye to you. And thank you for being a friend, bro.
Yeah, man. You'll just tell me how you're feeling tomorrow, okay?
Yeah.